Welcome to Down to the Wire here on Vegas Insider. Kevin Rogers with you, and we hope you're having a happy Monday, first Monday of October, and see if you're a big winner yesterday in the NFL as Week 4 wraps up tonight in Santa Clara between the 49ers and the Rams. NFC Championship rematch between these two, in which the Rams beat the 49ers last year in comeback fashion. But San Francisco has still owned LA, 5 consecutive regular season victories by the Niners over the Rams. We'll see if that streak continues tonight. The 49ers laying 2. We'll get to our best bet on that coming up in just a moment. Also, Major League Baseball, a couple days left in the regular season. Today, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Then the wild card round begins on Friday. It's a best of 3 series now. No more best of 1s. So the wild card a few days away. We've had in years past, the baseball season ends normally on a Sunday, and then you come back on Tuesday for the wild card. But now a few games left. Obviously, that lockout at the beginning of the season pushed things back a bit, but a few games left. Some teams still with a chance to lock it up. Phillies, the last one, their magic number is 1, and they face the Astros tonight in Houston. They win, or a Milwaukee loss to Arizona, and the Phillies will be in, and the playoffs pretty much will be set. You got to see the seedings. Obviously, Mets, Braves not settled yet in the National League East, but a lot going on there. So we have some best bets for baseball coming up. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about our handicapper heat check. And Scott Pritchard, that's who we're going to focus on tonight. And Scott, he has been around this game a long time. And also he's been a Vegas insider a long time. He's an NFL and MLB expert. If you don't know much about Scott, he's nailed 6 straight NFL winners. And he's 8-2 in his last 10 Major League Baseball picks. You can save $10 on any of Scott's Monday pick packages by visiting the link in the description below. The $10 discount will be applied during checkout. That's your handicapper heat check. Stay hot, bettors. So Scott Pritchard, he is our handicapper heat check for Monday. So check him out amongst all our other very good handicappers at Vegas Insider. And now time for my NFL best bet of the night. I'm going to back the LA Rams here tonight, taking the 2 points with them. Now, I know the money has gone towards San Francisco. This line has moved up. San Francisco laying 1, 1.5, up to 2 now, but it's at 2 at BetMGM. And we have some props to go over later on, or the individual props for the game we'll talk about in about 15, 20 minutes or so. But I do like this spot for the Rams. The last 5 regular season meetings, San Francisco has won them all. But the Niners have been an underdog in the last 5 meetings overall, which included the NFC Championship. Last year, the Rams, they went into Santa Clara, and they were blown out by the 49ers, and the Rams were laying 3 points. Now the Rams are getting a few points. LA kind of turned things around after that slow start against Buffalo back in week 1, but I think that the Rams will play better tonight. The 49ers with Jimmy G, they've had a little bit of struggles offensively. They faced a good Denver defense last week, scored only 10 points. Niners should have won that game, in fact, but the Broncos scored late to beat them. But I just think LA here, I think they have the advantage. I like the points with them. So let's go with the LA Rams as our best bet for tonight. And for Major League Baseball, let's have our best bet. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Phillies. They are taking on the Houston Astros. And the Phillies, again, their magic number is 1 to clinch the final wild card spot in the National League. And they have Aaron Nola on the mound tonight. How about this number? So the last 8 starts Aaron Nola has made after allowing 4 runs or more, the Phillies are 7-1 in those starts. And Nola, coming off a loss to the Cubs, is a heavy favorite last time out of Wrigley. Now he's a dog. Basically almost like a pick 'em. Houston's laying 120 with Lance McCullers on the mound tonight. And the Astros have wrapped everything up. They don't have a lot to play for at all. But the Phillies, I think they'll be motivated tonight with Nola, getting him at the short price. Let's go with the Phillies as one of our best bets, because we have another baseball best bet coming up in just a bit. But now let's go out to Vegas, and Patrick Everson, he joins us. And Patrick, he covers the sports gambling scene from the ground. He is literally there on the floor in the casinos, in the sports books, getting the information. And Patrick, it's good to see you again. First off, what are you hearing with this Rams 49ers game? Am I correct in what I said? The money's coming on the 49ers because San Francisco opened up as a 1-point favorite. This line has jumped up to 2. What have you heard with this Niners Rams game?
Well, actually, a little bit earlier today from PointsBet, it's really good. It's really good two-way money there for Rams 49ers. but they're seeing significantly more tickets and money on the Rams money line. So at this point, Wyatt Yearout told me from PointsBet a little bit earlier today that they're actually pulling for the 49ers tonight. But I'm not entirely certain that's the case everywhere. I'm taking a look at a couple of other things on my screen here from stuff that has come across over the course of the afternoon, and looking at Caesars. Really, I mean, Caesars 65% of tickets Rams, 55% of money Rams. You bump on over to DraftKings and you've got 3-1 tickets Rams, and almost just a little bit shy of 2-1 money Rams. So it looks like some other places might be 49ers fans as well. And I'm looking at DraftKings right now as well, and they're pretty heavy to the Rams on the money line too. So people figuring, rather than pay the -110 on the Rams on the spread at 1 or 2, thinking the Rams are going to win outright and taking them on the money line instead. It looks like that's taking place at a couple of different shops.
Patrick, the concern about San Francisco's quote-unquote ownership of L.A. in the regular season. Granted, the Rams won the last meeting, but that still was a tough one. The 49ers were up in the second half of that game before they lost it. That people are just not going into the riding San Francisco streak against L.A. They're just thinking, all right, defending Super Bowl champs are going to back them as a dog.
It looks that way. They're not, I mean, I'd say it's, it's fair to say, two-way action or close to it, but they're not jumping on San Francisco's bandwagon. I would think that Sunday night game in Denver has something to do with it, because that was just a dreadful game to watch. I mean, 11-10. It's, Denver has not looked very good this season overall. And the Niners were, thought they'd gotten a boost. Bettors thought the Niners had gotten a boost from the change in quarterback, figuring just a little more stability. Not that Trey Lance long-term isn't the solution for them, because he may well be. It's a terrible injury, but they've, Garoppolo is more of a proven quantity and has led that team to the Super Bowl just a couple of years back. So I think they thought that was the way to go, and then watched a dreadful performance in an 11-10 game. Both teams were awful, and it was just a rock fight basically. But I think that turned them off. I mean, bettors often remember what they see last, and what they saw last was, 10 points in prime time. Everybody's watching. It's a standalone game. So that may be factoring into it as well. A little bit of recency bias.
What about the total for tonight, Patrick? At 42, the Rams back-to-back divisional road games now after beating Arizona last week. And I know that they still performed well against Atlanta. That score was misleading. The yards were completely for the Rams in that game. But what about you're going to see points here? What do people like on this total tonight of 42?
I would say it's two-way action. I'm looking, in the update that I did earlier this afternoon in my article at VegasInsider.com right now, the NFL Week 4 odds report, 63% of tickets, 62% of money on the over. But again, they've probably gotten the best of this on the over, the bulk of it. This thing dropped like a rock. I mean, it opened at 47 and plunged to 42.5 last Monday, a week ago at PointsBet. It's kind of sat between 42, 42.5 and 43 since then. So a little over 3-2 tickets and money on the over. Looking right now at DraftKings as well, and it's in that same range, like around 60, low 60%, low 60s in percentage for tickets and money on the over. So not a strong opinion on the over, but usually in these standalone games, especially as you get closer to kickoff, that's when most of the money's going to come in. And usually bettors come in on favorite and over. Now they might not come in on favorite and over tonight. They might come in on dog, as it appears they are at a couple of different books, especially on the money line. But they'll probably see some overplay late on this. The public comes in, they want to see, they bet what they want to see, and what they want to see is scoring. So I wouldn't be surprised if those percentages tick up before kickoff. And then, per usual in a standalone game, the books are generally going to need the under there.
Patrick, I know we're all sobbing for the books today because they lost this past weekend. Boo-hoo, you lost.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Who was the biggest loser for the books yesterday? Because we saw Dallas. They came through easily against Washington. The Vikings-Saints game was interesting because they opened 2.5, closed at 4, landed on 3. You also had Philadelphia. They pulled away in that game against Jacksonville. Who was the biggest loser for the books yesterday?
I would say it was probably Kansas City for most books. And that's just because it's the Sunday night game, high profile team, very public team, and whatever survived the day, not that a ton survived the day because actually a decent amount survived the day. I should take that back. But whatever survived the day rolling into Sunday night generally was rolling into the Chiefs, even though that line made a huge move. Jason Scott at BetMGM told me last night before that game kicked off, total pros versus Joe's matchup, sharp play on the Bucks throughout the week, which helped make that line go from as far as Chiefs -3 to Bucks -2. I think there was even some Bucks -2.5 out there. And Jason said for one of the few times in the last 20 years, the public is against Tom Brady. He said it was definitely a little bit surprising to see. So I think that game spun the book sideways some. But there were some other results that they noted, and some of them might be a little bit surprising. But that game was definitely big, especially since Zachary Lucas at Twin Spires told me we needed Tampa Bay in the under. So that was a worst case scenario to finish the day. And he said that Twin Spires lost on all 4 of the later games, the 3 late kicks and then the Sunday night kick, followed by the Sunday night kick. But a couple other games that were kind of key for the bettors. Chris Young at WinBet, he said the Bills, Titans, and Jets all winning were not great decisions for us. Buffalo coming all the way back. Granted, Buffalo didn't cover the spread. In some places, they were a push. In some places, the Ravens were a win, depending on whether you got 3 or 3.5. But, that game falling at 3, I think 3 was kind of the consensus closer. You got to refund everybody who bet the Bills -3. You got to refund everybody who bet the Ravens +3, and then everyone who had the Bills in their money line and money line parlays and such, which I guarantee you was a lot of bettors putting Buffalo in there, expecting them to bounce back. Those all paid out. So that was a killer on the money line parlay sense. And obviously Tennessee getting it done at Indy, even though they didn't score in the second half. And then the Jets rallying in the fourth quarter for a couple of TDs. Those were all results that fell in bettors' favors at WinBet, at least.
Patrick, what was the breakdown in the New England game? Obviously, a lot of people probably the Packers money line probably teased them.
Yep.
But you don't get New England +9.5 that often. And obviously, Brian Hoyer's out early in that game. Bailey Zappi came in. They hung around. They led, and then Green Bay came back and won. But did you have a lot of people taking the points of New England in that spot, in that rare spot of seeing that many points with Belichick?
Well, it's interesting. So I was in Chicago for the weekend, and I got to hang out at the Rivers Casino Sportsbook, or Bet Rivers Sportsbook. And in talking with their folks, they said New England was seeing among the least action of any team on the spread and on the money line in week 4. They were really not an attractive play. And I think that was generally the case in most places. But to your point, the Packers were in all the money line, were in all the big number to lay. They were still getting a fair amount of point spread play, the bulk of point spread play. But again, to your point, they were also in the money line parlays and teasers and so forth. And so them getting out with the win, the books did well to New England covering the spread. A good result for the books, not necessarily a good result for bettors who are always going to be on the Packers, especially at home and against a team with a backup quarterback that ultimately had to go to the third string quarterback. But all that Packers money line parlay liability survived, and that ended up being a pretty good result for bettors. It was one specifically that Zach Lucas at Twin Spires noted, and a couple of other books noted that as well.
Again, you mentioned you were in Chicago for the weekend. So who did you talk to in Las Vegas about what the Raiders did? The Raiders finally got a cover, and they finally get a win over your Broncos. But what was the breakdown there with the Raiders? A lot of people trying to say, all right, this is going to be their time. They got to get off the schneid and win this game at home.
Yes, that's exactly what they said. I talked to Scott Shelton late Saturday night to just get an update. And this has been the case every week with BetMGM here in Nevada, not necessarily BetMGM nationwide. I believe this was a pretty decent Broncos-Raiders was a pretty decent two-way game for BetMGM nationally. But BetMGM here in Nevada, in Las Vegas, was very heavy to the Raiders, as they have been the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. I don't know how much that would have continued if the Raiders didn't get it together, but since they did, I think it will continue. So Scott Shelton said, look, we were very heavy to the Raiders on the spread and on the money line and in parlays and so forth. And Casey Degnan, senior risk supervisor at the Superbook over at the Westgate here in Las Vegas. I'm back home now, back from Chicago. He said the hometown Raiders covering was also a negative result for us, and it was a losing Sunday for the book because of that outcome, among a couple of other key outcomes for the Superbook.
On college football, really quickly, Patrick,
Sure.
So I want to look ahead at some of the games for week 5, but college football, how many people's parlay cards died on Georgia? Them laying a ton against Missouri. Missouri almost beat them. Georgia got the win, but were there a lot of people on Missouri this past weekend? Some people that tried to win or that took the points with them?
No, not really. That was I mean, Saturday was much better for the books than it was for the bettors. In the way that Sunday went right for the bettors, Saturday went very right for the books, especially with that outcome. A night game. There was certainly whatever was live, parlays and moneyline parlays and teasers and so forth. Whatever was live was probably rolling to Georgia for most bettors. So that ended up being a tremendous result for the books. And Neil Fitzroy behind the counter at Superbook said we had an excellent day Saturday. Georgia and this was interesting. I thought Georgia and Iowa not covering were great for us. He also said Purdue beating Minnesota beating Minnesota outright as a almost double-digit underdog was huge for them as well. And a couple of other people noted the Georgia game as well. Christian again at WinBet. He said it was a decent college football day, especially with Missouri covering. And he noted a couple of wins by favorites on Saturday that were favorable to the book, Kansas State and Washington State. So, but no question, Georgia struggling to get past Mizzou was big for the books. And if Mizzou had held on, I think it would have been, a real monster because, like I said, whatever was rolling into Saturday night was certainly rolling into the Georgia Bulldogs, expecting them to just thump Missouri like the 30-point favorites that they were. And it was a struggle all night for the Bulldogs.
Let's look at some games for the NFL this week, Patrick. And the Broncos back at home. Javonte Williams tore his ACL. He's out for the season, so obviously a big hit for them. The Colts are a bit of a mess. They beat the Chiefs somehow, but 2 losses, a tie against Houston in week 1. Denver's offense has still struggled to get it together. Denver laying 3.5 in this one. And Jonathan Taylor, he's a question mark with a high ankle sprain for the Colts. But any early action that you've heard on this Broncos-Colts game?
Yeah, so as I do every week, I'm talking to John Murray at the Superbook each Sunday night and for an opening line report that's up on Vegas Insider right now. And if I can pre-pub real quick, Tom Carroll and I later this evening will have our NFL Week 5 opening line report. Normally we do that on Sunday nights, but because I was traveling this week, we moved it to Monday night. John noted they opened the Broncos 3. I think you mentioned it's 3.5. I haven't double checked at the Superbook to see if they're still 3.5, but as he points out, and I hadn't seen the latest on this, but Jonathan Taylor's dinged up. The Colts have a short week, got to go on the road, altitude, all those little things. But he did note, and this is something I've reported on over the past couple of seasons as a trend. The sharper bettors, he said, the wise guys generally like to play the Colts as a dog. He said it wouldn't surprise him to see that happen here. Obviously, I'm not really keen on Denver. I haven't seen anything out of Denver that I really liked in the first 4 weeks. I'm a bit of I'm a diehard Broncos fan, but I'm also not an optimistic Broncos fan. So I don't necessarily like, the way they look and how they might look this week, but they do have the advantage of being at home on a short week. Potentially don't have to see Jonathan Taylor. You mentioned the Broncos injury as well, though they've got, everybody's got issues here. So, but again, John said he wouldn't be surprised to see some sharp play come in on the Colts here.
I got a good number for you, Patrick. Frank Reich 5-0 against the spread. His last 5 as a road dog. So that's interesting. But again, Matt Ryan's got to step up, and they have not been a road dog this year. So we'll see how that turns out. Now on Sunday, you have the Steelers. I saw this. I'm not sure I'm sure it's true, but I can't believe this. I want to pass this by you, Patrick. The Steelers are a 2-touchdown underdog for the first time since the merger. Like they're the last team to be getting this amount of points in the last 50-something years.
Gosh,
I saw that somewhere. They're playing Buffalo this week.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that yet. I'm just double checking what the numbers are at the Superbook right now. I had not seen that, but that's definitely pretty wild. It is a ton of points. Buffalo's coming out. They lost at Miami and had to rally hard to beat the Ravens. So coming off a couple of tough weeks, but managed to go 1-1 in those games. I was a little surprised the number was as high as it was, but again, Pittsburgh's not, Pittsburgh doesn't have a whole lot there. It looks like it's sticking there though. It's not, I'm seeing it at the Superbook right now, open 14, still 14. So nobody's really got any qualms with that number at this point, or feels like they can pick it off on one side or the other. You got a rookie QB who's going to make his first start in Kenny Pickett. So against arguably the best team in the NFL, the last 2 weeks, the way they've looked notwithstanding, that's going to be a lot to ask of a rookie quarterback for sure. And John said, look, we're going to need the Steelers. As you and I have discussed over the last, over the first month of the season, multiple times, the Bills were the flavor of the entire offseason in the futures market, Super Bowl, AFC, season win totals, MVP betting, all those things. But John said, I'm sure we'll need the Steelers, but he said these huge point spreads generally scare the public away. So perhaps why it hasn't come down at all off of that 14 early on. And maybe it will a little bit later in the week if the public thinks that's a lot of points and they want to take them. But it's a tough call there.
Final one I'll give you, Patrick. Monday night, the Raiders going to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. Everyone saw what Patrick Mahomes did last night. The Chiefs going to Tampa to beat the Buccaneers. The Chiefs laying 7, at least right now. You're getting the Raiders, now I don't say momentum, but off a win. At least they're playing a little better. And they've given the Chiefs some problems at Arrowhead the last few years. I feel like they play in Vegas. The Chiefs are winning these games, but at Arrowhead, the Raiders have been kind of sneaky. What's the early news on that game?
See, I think this is kind of interesting because when I talked to John went back and forth with John on Sunday night, he noted that they opened Chiefs -7 because last week on the look ahead line, they had Chiefs -6.5. And he said, we had wise guys lay us the 6.5 on that look ahead line. And then after seeing what happened last night, he said, I'd expect an adjustment after this offensive explosion from Kansas City. And to note, the Superbook, whenever a team is playing in the Sunday night game or the Monday night game, as is coming up later this evening, in the current week, they take the next week's game off the board. So as soon as the Chiefs and Bucks kicked off Sunday night, Raiders Chiefs came off the board for next week's Monday night game. It went back up. They put it back up in the morning, Monday mornings at the Superbook. So it went back up this morning, and I thought maybe it would, go beyond 7. They're just sitting at 7 -120 on the Chiefs right now. So it's juiced a little bit, but not to the extent that John perhaps expected they might when I talked to him on Sunday night. But still 7 minus $1.20. So you're looking at them kind of starting that lean towards 7.5. And I think the public's going to come in on the Chiefs for sure. So although here in Vegas, the regional bias is here. The Raiders finally got a win. They scored some points. That maybe that'll counter it a little bit, but I don't think it's going to counter it nationally. I think people are going to be all over Kansas City in prime time, and whatever parlays, money line parlays, and teasers are running to Monday night, they're all going to run to the Chiefs.
Patrick Everson, you could find him on Twitter at @PatrickE_Vegas. And again, tonight you'll be on with Tom Carroll, looking ahead to the Week 5 card. What time? Around 11:30 Eastern?
Probably right as the Sunday night or Monday night football game closes. Again, that's normally a Sunday night feature for us, but we had to put it on pause for a moment while I traveled to Chicago and back. We'll do it tonight, and then we'll reconvene normally on Sundays, starting up with the Week 6 docket. But yeah, we'll be on tonight around the time Monday Night Football ends, unless it becomes a blowout. Maybe we'll jump on a little bit early if people's attention is otherwise diverted by a bad game.
And we'll talk to you Thursday, looking ahead of the Colts Broncos, get some fresher numbers on it, right?
You bet. Absolutely. Looking forward to it, and I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Patrick Everson, always great work. You can check out Patrick's work at Vegas Insider. Patrick, thanks. We'll talk to you Thursday.
You bet. Have a good night.
All right. You too. That's Patrick Everson right there. Always enjoy talking to Patrick. And that Thursday night game, Colts Broncos, I do like Indianapolis in that game, even though they have not looked very good so far. But Denver defensively has looked good. Maybe not yesterday, but offensively, they just have not been able to bust out at all. And now Javonte Williams is out. That's a bigger problem for them. All right. Before we get to our Major League Baseball best bet and some NFL props, I want to tell you about BetMGM. And at BetMGM, they're the king of sports books. And, we talked about them a lot here on the show. And if you sign up now with BetMGM, you're a new customer, use the bonus code VIBONUS. Your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. That's right. First wager, risk-free up to $1,000. VIBONUS is the bonus code if you are a new customer. VIBONUS, all one word, no spaces. Your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. And it's available in the following states: Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Michigan, Mississippi, Nevada, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Washington, D.C., West Virginia, Wyoming, and the great province of Ontario. Must be 21 years or older to wager. Again, that is BetMGM. They are the king of sports books. All right, now let's go for our second Major League Baseball best bet for the night, since we are running out of regular season games, and I'm going to go with the struggling Boston Red Sox as they host Tampa Bay tonight. A couple things here with the Red Sox. Rich Hill, in 2 of 3 starts, has pitched very well against Tampa Bay this year. He got shelled the last time he faced him at Tropicana Field. Red Sox, they won 3 times against Toronto this year, which is unbelievable. They just got swept by the Blue Jays this past weekend. But Red Sox are 4-1 this season in the game after they played Toronto. So once they get rid of the Blue Jays, they play a little bit better. Tyler Glasnow, who knows how long he's going to go for Tampa Bay, his second start of the season. And I don't know how Kevin Cash is going to use him in the postseason. The Rays are in already. But I don't think Glasnow is going to be going 5 or 6 innings tonight. But the Red Sox, their final series of the season, they're back at Fenway. They got swept by Tampa Bay when they last faced them in September. Let's go with the Red Sox here at plus money to beat Tampa Bay tonight. The Rays just lost their last 2 to Houston. In fact, in their last 5 losses, Tampa Bay has scored 1 run apiece. So if you can find a way to slow down this Rays offense, you got a good shot against them. I mean, you can say about any team, but the Rays offense has struggled a bit of late. So let's go with Boston as our second best bet. Phillies and the Red Sox are 2 best bets tonight in Major League Baseball. All right, now let's look at tonight's props for the 49ers and the Rams, and that is courtesy of BetMGM. And let's begin, since we got a whole lot of them. Now, again, so many props to go through, and BetMGM, oh wow, the number dropped. The 49ers now laying 1.5. It was a 2 about 20 minutes ago. Now it's down to 1.5. All right, here are the updated numbers for the Rams 49ers, courtesy of BetMGM. 49ers laying 1.5 for the game. Total at 42. 49ers minus 125 on the money line. That's for the full game. First half, Niners minus a half plus 100. Rams plus a half minus 120. First half total 20.5, and the 49ers to lead at the half minus 115. Rams at plus 100. For the first quarter, Rams plus a half minus 165. 49ers minus a half plus 130. That total at 7.5, under minus 130, Niners minus 125 on the money line to lead after the first quarter. Now let's go to the player props. Got a lot of star power in this game tonight. Let's start with passing yards. Matthew Stafford, 248.5. Jimmy Garoppolo, 229.5. Garoppolo minus 120 on the over. Now, as far as passing touchdowns goes, Garoppolo, 1.5 touchdowns, minus 165 on the under. Stafford, 1.5, minus 115 on the over, minus 110 on the under. Now, the interception one, let's see if we can pull that one up. I gotta look for that one. But let's continue with rushing yards. Cam Akers, 36.5. Jeff Wilson, 55.5. Deebo Samuel, 30.5. Garoppolo and Stafford each at 2.5. Receiving yards. Let's get the big list now. You got a lot of names here. Cooper Kupp, 95.5 on his receiving yard prop. Brandon Ayuk, 54.5. Deebo Samuel, 58.5. Tyler Higbee, 41.5. George Kittle, 42.5. Allen Robinson, 40.5. And those are the big names for receiving yards. Receptions, we'll give you the big ones here. Cooper Kupp at 8.5, under minus 135. So just to get to 8, you still have an under for Cooper Kupp. And let's see, Deebo, 4.5, over minus 155. Kittle, 4.5, under minus 165. Kicking props. Robbie Gould of the Niners, 6.5, over minus 125. Matt Gay of the Rams, 6.5, under minus 140. So those are your kicking props for tonight. Garoppolo, over 250 yards passing plus 155. Over 300 plus 475. For Stafford, his passing yards, over 300 plus 260. Over 350 plus 650. He gets a 400 yards on this 49er defense. That's 11-1 odds. Cam Akers, 50 or more rushing yards, plus 125. Jeff Wilson of the Niners, 20 or more rushing attempts, plus 350. Let's see, for Cooper Kupp, to get plus money on some kind of receptions, 10 or more, plus 190. 100 yards receiving or more, plus 110. So 10 catches, 110 yards. You have yourself a good night. So those are the big props for the Rams-Niners on BetMGM. 1 touchdown tonight. Cooper Kupp, or let me rephrase that. Excuse me. Cooper Kupp first touchdown. Sorry, plus 550. Deebo 7-1. Jeff Wilson plus 750. Cam Akers 9-1. Anytime touchdown. Cooper Kupp minus 165. Samuel plus 115, Wilson plus 120, Akers plus 125. Last touchdown, pretty much the same as the first touchdown. Kupp 11-2, Samuel 7-1, Wilson 15-2 on the single touchdown, last touchdown of the game. Cooper Kupp to score and the Rams to win, plus 105. Akers to score and Rams to win, plus 185. Samuel to score and the 49ers to win, plus 250. Niners defense or special teams to score and the 49ers win, 11-1. Matt Stafford, actually, this goes both ways. Stafford to score and the Rams win. Garoppolo to, okay, they're separate. I don't want to confuse anybody. Stafford to score and the Rams win, 12-1. Garoppolo to score and the Niners win, 12-1. So you get the quarterback to score and their team to win. That's at 12-1 odds. So that's what's looking at for tonight for the Rams and the 49ers. You can find all those odds on BetMGM. Now, Major League Baseball, quickly to go over some of the lines for tonight, even though, again, we're down to the end of the season and a lot of these games are meaningless, but still, you can bet on them, then it's fine. Cardinals, Pirates, they just met at Busch. Now they're at PNC. Cardinals laying 165, total of 7. Cubs and Reds, Chicago's won 11 of 12. They're a dog tonight at Cincinnati. Reds laying 125, total of 7.5. Braves and the Marlins, big series for the Braves because they want to try to close out that NL East after they took care of the Mets this weekend. Braves laying 155, total of 7. Blue Jays minus 120. Blue Jays can host the Mariners if they grab a win. I believe their magic number is 1 to get the home series. Remember, it's a home series. It's not 2-1. You're playing all the games in one venue in the wild card round. Toronto minus 120, total of 7.5. Yankees minus 155 at Texas, total of 8. Rays minus 145 at Fenway against the Red Sox, total of 7.5. Mets laying 300, total of 7.5, hosting the Nationals. The Brewers minus 250, total of 7.5, welcoming in the Diamondbacks. The White Sox minus 115, Twins at minus 105 in Chicago, total of 7. Tony La Russa announcing his retirement today, so it's nice knowing you, Tony. Astros laying 120, total of 7.5, hosting the Phillies. Angels minus 175 at Oakland, total of 7.5. Padres minus 190 at home, hosting the Giants, 7.5. Mariners laying 250 to the Tigers. Detroit's 110 of 12. And also Seattle swept Detroit at Comerica last month, so maybe the Tigers be motivated here. Detroit, you can get them at 2-1 at BetMGM, total of 7. Rockies and Dodgers, they are finishing up their series, a 6-game series. LA laying 350, total of 8.5 in that game. So a lot of Major League Baseball the next few days. NHL regular season starts next week. The NBA starts the week after that. So we're going to be very busy here with a lot of games coming up. So all that being said, before we get out of here for tonight's action, I want to tell you about the Vegas Insider app. And the Vegas Insider app, it's really, really a cool feature. And if you check it out now, you can get a lot of great things in the Vegas Insider app. I mean, the list goes on. Basically, up-to-date, easy-to-navigate odds for every major sport. Latest shows, best bet videos and podcasts, props, trends, futures, news, all in the free Vegas Insider app. And you can download the Vegas Insider app right now on Apple or Android devices. Bet better now with the Vegas Insider app. All right, we still have plenty more. Well, not on this show, but as far as under the Vegas Insider umbrella. Coming up at 7 o'clock, more Rams 49ers talk, and that is coming on our Twitter Spaces at Vegas Insider. Tom Cunningham, he is hosting that, and you can check out a lot of our Vegas Insider personalities on there, breaking down the Rams and the 49ers, giving out their best bets. And it's free to join. Just be on Twitter and go to Twitter Spaces at Vegas Insider, starting at 7 Eastern for the Rams 49ers breakdown. And then later on, around 11:30 Eastern, on our Vegas Insider TV channel on YouTube, Tom Carroll and Patrick Everson, they will break down the Week 5 opening numbers for the NFL. That coming up after the Rams 49ers game tonight. And then coming up tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel, Joe Osborne's got Chasing That Paper. So Joe is going to look ahead to more NFL games for Week 5 and also Major League Baseball. He's got plays for tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, and we'll look back at the Rams 49ers and look ahead to Week 5 in the NFL. Also, I have a couple best bet videos you could find on our YouTube channel looking ahead to UCF and SMU on Wednesday. That's a rescheduled game from this past weekend. Also, Colts Broncos Thursday night best bet, and Friday, Nebraska-Rutgers, that Big Ten battle from New Jersey. You can find all those videos on our YouTube channel, Best Bets, on Vegas Insider TV. My thanks to Patrick Everson for hopping on. Also, Spencer Ray for running the show. As always, I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll talk to you on tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern on Down to the Wire. And as always, best of luck with your bets.